the body, the mind, the soul, and the spirit. Our body, that's your physical body, the vehicle that you're driving. Then mind, that's the mental or cognitive aspects. Our soul, that's your emotions. And spirit, that is the true being. That is the being that's having a physical experience. That's the spirit. Okay, next one. So I want you to think of your body or everything as if you're a rally car. So the body, that is like the body of the vehicle, the physical vehicle. Your mind is the driver. Your spirit is the navigator. And then your soul or your emotions will be the things that make the car go properly or not so properly. Some things like tires, fuel, suspension, those types of things. So I want you to remember this image as we continue. Okay, next one. So as you can see, that anything that happens in the body will affect the mind, which will affect the emotions. Or anything that happens in the mind will affect the emotions, which will affect the body, and so on. It's a little cycle. So we're going to kick off discussing in more depth. We're going to start off with discussing the mind. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, our mind. So I'm going to jump back to 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27. But I discipline my body and I bring it under control. Ladies, this transformation will start in the mind because discipline happens in the mind. We first need to bring our minds under control. And how do we do that? Once again, the answer is right there in the Bible for us. 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5. We are destroying sophisticated arguments and every exalted and proud thing that sets itself up against the true knowledge of God. And we are taking every thought and purpose captive to the obedience of Christ. So practically in a health setup or health way, how do I interpret 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5? I'm going to take an easy example. We all know what we should and should not eat. We all know if there's chocolates in the cupboard, we should not really eat them. So we are destroying sophisticated arguments. Have you ever argued with yourself if you know the chocolates are in the cupboard and you start this argument with, only one? Only one. And then you start with only one, but then one suddenly turns into a box. And that's not good for you. But then you start justifying yourself and you say, you know what, it's been a tough week. It's not that bad. I think I deserve that one. It's not that bad. I won't do that again. And that is actually you being proud, saying you knew better because you know what's good for you and you still decided to go against that. So that's the exalted and proud thing that sets itself up against the true knowledge of God. So that's why we need to take every thought and purpose captive to the obedience of Christ. And that is how we interpret 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5 to a physical body. Okay, next slide, please. So continuing with the mind, practically what that means for us is be aware of what you are thinking. Be aware of what is influencing the way that you think. In other words, emotions. And I'm going to get to those now. And then listen to the spirit that chooses the direction you need to go in and make choices accordingly. So the spirit is going to tell the driver where to go left, to go right, to eat the chocolates, not to eat the chocolates. You know which one is the better option. So listen to the spirit, guys. Okay, next one, please. Now we get to the soul or our emotions. So like a flat tire will pull a car to a certain side, emotions will pull your thoughts to a certain direction. We need to take responsibility, just like with a car. If you've got a flat, you need to change the tire. If you've got a flat in your emotions, you need to take responsibility and determine what is pulling your thoughts and why. So we need to decide how much we can and will allow emotions, because emotions are not always bad. Remember, emotions can be fuel as well. So it's not necessarily just a flat tire. Emotions can be fuel, but we need to be responsible with our emotions. So can I get the next slide, please? Yeah, there I said it. Emotions, we are responsible for our emotions. Sorry, just go back one. Right. Emotions will influence our mood, our motivation. And that influences everything else, like we saw in the cycle previously. So what I want you to remember is when emotions are fuel in the tank, it's wonderful. But when emotions become the driver, it is catastrophic. You will end up crashed into a wall or into a tree when emotions are in the driver's seat. So we need to be able to renew our emotions as well. Right, next slide, please. And that finally brings us to the body. What happens to the body is a result of the working and partnership of the mind and the soul. We tend to focus on the body primarily because that's the thing we see. But the real work is what's happening inside, what's happening in my mind and what's happening in my soul. And then we will start seeing on the outside, on the body, what is actually going on the inside. Our bodies were made to move. We were made in God's image. And I don't know if you realize, but God moves. He's not a stationary, sedentary God. He moves, and he made us the same. We have this innate need to move. Movement benefits the brain as well as the thinking processes. Movement improves mood. Next slide, please. So by improving the body, we will be improving the mind, we will be improving the soul, which in turn will be improving the body, improving the mind, improving the soul, and so on and so on and so on. This cycle is very important to remember, please. We want to improve the mind, we want to improve the soul, and then we will improve the body. And because we were made to move, we will be rewarded with improvements in the mind and improvements in the soul. Right, next slide, please. So in summary, ladies, we want to change our mindset about physical health. To do that, we need to understand first, your body is not your own. You are the caretaker. You need to know that the body, the mind, and the soul are linked. What happens in one will happen in the other. We need to start with our mind. Be intentional and aware of what you are thinking, because that will mean you're going to be intentional and aware of what you are doing. Do not allow your emotions to be in control. And what happens in the physical body is a result of what happens in the mind and the soul. Next slide, please. Oh, is that the last one? Okay, sorry. Right, so ladies, thank you. I want you to remember, we need to take care of the mind. We need to take care of our emotions, and that will take care of the body. That is in a nutshell. If you use these as principles, you will be able to change your mindset about health. I can go on and can give you stats and physical tips, what to eat, how to exercise. And yes, we are going to get there at one point. But I first need you to start thinking differently about your body. Think differently about this amazing vehicle that God has gifted you with. And I first need you to know what's going on under the surface, how we're really going to take care of this body before I tell you what you need to do. Right. So that's all from my side. And I'm going to end this as I end all of my videos. Ladies, remember, you are fearfully and wonderfully made.